Hello everybody, I have a mic now so I can sit really far away from my laptop while I talk. And I'm going to show you guys a bunch of images and talk about the art book because somebody requested it. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to go through the whole thing. I know somebody was feeling left out because they didn't get the collector's edition of it, so they wanted to see what was all in it, but I don't have enough time to do it. I tried doing a video before with all of the pictures and it took like 16 minutes for me to just do that. And I'm just going to show you the ones that didn't either make it in or that I haven't run into yet. I'm also going to talk about symbolism and kind of redo my dragon video and talk a little bit about a lot of the common things or I guess questions or statements that a lot of people have said in my dragon video. So first I'm going to go through all these. Here's this Gargoyle Lady. It's weird that they didn't put her in the game because there was actually a event either held by From Software or, somebody cosplayed as her or something. But yeah, somebody cosplayed as her and showed up at one of their events. So it's kind of weird that she didn't make the cut, even though she was sort of a product. I actually like her design over the gargoyles that made it in the game. Just because she doesn't have a face. I don't know why, but that really sort of screams Dark Souls, I guess. And I didn't really like the direction of the weird looking guys. I don't know. But here's this guy. He didn't make it in the game. His armor's pretty cool, but I mean aside from that, I don't know what his intentions, what the artistic director's intentions were with that. At first, when I first saw this picture, I didn't think that they made it in the game, but these are actually the blow dart guys in Blighttown. So that's what they look like for those of you who have never actually given them a chance, or a chance to actually like get really up close and personal with them because they are annoying. And then here's this guy. I had a really good conversation with somebody on one of my videos. I forgot what their username was though. About Gwyn's Knights, and he's convinced that Go is one of the blacksmith or the giant blacksmith because the dragon slayer bow or whatever it was called is huge and it looks like a giant could use it, and so that sort of, that was his theory, and the fact that the giant also sells Go's ring. So I thought that was pretty good. I like to think that, there's obviously no concrete evidence or assumptions, but I like to think that this is Go, or maybe this was an early design for Ferris, but they decided to go with sort of the Robin Hood appearance of Ferris. So there's that, and then the fat overseer or official or whatever it was on the boar. They obviously had to cut this for copyright reasons. They couldn't keep because of Demon Souls, they couldn't keep this design. That would be way too close. And then there are these weird tree things. It looks like they're floating and they have hands. Something that I really would have actually liked to see in the game. There are those tree enemies that don't really do anything. You can hit them and kill them and it unlocks secret passages, but they have their own like hit bar. It's not like they're just a fake wall that you can hit and they disappear. They have like hit points and everything. So I thought that was interesting. That's probably what they wanted to do. There's this thing. It's surrounded by, I don't know if you guys can see it because this video camera is not really all that great, but there are these little mosquitoes surrounding this huge blob thing. I'm assuming that it was supposed to be a nest or some type of large insect that housed the mosquitoes at some point. That would have been a really cool idea if you could actually kill an enemy that had the mosquitoes in it, because I hate the mosquitoes and they just keep respawning no matter what you do. So that would have been a neat idea, but he's not in the game. First I thought he was one of those centipedes that you fight in Izalith, but there's actually another concept image of the actual centipede that you fight, so that's not it either. Let's see. And then now I'm going to go on to sort of symbolism, mythology, and a bunch of stuff, and then the dragons. I'm going to read you guys a myth relief first. I'm going to kind of skip through it. But there was an old man who lived in a little house behind a cemetery. He was extremely... I don't know what that word is. He was generally liked by his neighbors, though most of them considered him to be a little mad. His madness, it would appear, entirely rested upon the fact that he had never married or evinced a desire for intimate relationship with women. One summer day he became very ill, so ill in fact that he sent for his sister-in-law and her son. They both came and did what they could to bring comfort during his last hours. While they watched, he fell asleep, but he had no longer done so. That's worded really weird. Anyway, so there's a large white butterfly that flew into the room. The young man tried to drive it away, but it just kept coming back, and so the boy started to follow it. And the butterfly took him out to the cemetery and landed on a specific gravestone that said Akiko. And so when he went back to the mom, because the butterfly disappeared as soon as it landed on that gravestone, when he went back to that mom, or to his mom, he told her what happened, and she said that the reason why he never married was because he fell in love with Akiko. And Akiko apparently had gotten married to another man and had children and all this other stuff, and he went mad, or he kind of vowed to never marry or have children. And so that's sort of what that butterfly was trying to do. Butterflies in any sort of Japanese or Shinto myths usually either act as messengers, or they're associated with a person's last moments. Sometimes they'll be associated with sanity, like if somebody's going insane, you'll see butterflies like flying away from them. A lot of times butterflies are also associated with long lifespan, or different phases of somebody's lifespan because of their sort of metaphysical, or not metaphysical, but whatever. They change over time. So that's sort of what they kind of embody, and I thought it was pretty interesting because there's the Moonlight Butterfly, and I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about moon magic as well, because the moon's associated with women because of, and I know that this may grow some of you up, but because of menstrual cycles. The word menstrual actually came from the word moon, like its origin is the word moon, and women are essentially like governed, their menstrual cycles are governed by the moon and by the moon phases and by the brightness of the moon. But it's also been found, there was a scientific study that found that actually like artificial light can change that too. So it has something to do with circadian rhythms during nighttime. So a lot of women tend to be associated with night in terms of like pagan, or a lot of that stuff. Any sort of polytheistic religions. It's not all, obviously, but there are a lot. And yeah, so that's sort of why I think that Gwendolyn was raised as a woman, because he was strong on moon magic, and moon magic is a very feminine thing. I'm also currently going on a huge Gundam kick right now, and there's the Turn A series. And the pilot of the Turn A Gundam is very feminine. He was actually raised on a colony on the moon. He cross-dresses in one of the episodes, and he pilots a Gundam that has huge butterfly wings. He just is very effeminate in his just overall artistic design. So there's definitely a huge sort of connection between just sort of symbolism in Japan, Eastern symbolism or Shinto symbolism regarding like the moon and feminism and butterflies and sort of all those properties. Anyway, so I think that's kind of why there's all these sort of magic things associated with women in the Soul series. Why most of the women tend to either be, like for example, like the Maiden, the Shrine Maiden, and then all the Fire Keepers are all women. So I think that's sort of what that whole thing is. But as far as the butterflies go, it could be, I like to think that the Moonlight Butterflies are sort of a product of Seath's madness, his sanity sort of leaving him. That's what all those butterflies, like, I figure they could be. That's sort of what that symbolism is there. You could even go so far as to say that Seath is very kindred to the story of the white butterfly in Japanese folklore. If you are one of those people who like desperately wants to believe in the whole Guinevere, Seath, Priscilla combination, it would be pretty interesting if that was just sort of a different take on that folklore, because maybe Seath, like, aside from him going mad because of his research, was heartbroken about Guinevere. I mean, Guinevere had to leave. She was married to somebody else. So maybe there's that. But for those of you who don't believe in that, obviously it could just be him just going mad from his research. And that's what the butterflies can be symbolic of. Somebody also said on my video, and I want to read this because this is a good point. You missed the reason why Seath is not immortal. I think that their scales are the reason for their immortality, and he's talking about the everlasting dragons. Seath, being scaleless, grows jealous of their immortality and wants it for himself. Gwyn sees this and offers Seath the chance to conduct research for his immortality if he were to help him rid the world of everlasting dragons. I think that the crystals cover the archives are the byproduct of Seath's research and his attempts at immortality, like a scale. And I agree with that, and that's what I was trying to say in my video. It may have been a little bit disjointed, but what I was trying to say was that Seath was born with all these genetic disorders. He has PAX6. He doesn't have eyes. He doesn't have scales. I mean, he's obviously just a really unfit dragon, and maybe he was, I mean, obviously it's just sort of ingrained in us to either isolate or alienate people who are unhealthy or different from us, because we don't want them to reproduce within our society. Or that's the case with most organisms. And that was probably the case with the everlasting dragons. They probably beat him up or didn't want him around, and he was resentful because of that. He also wanted, to be immortal. So I'm sorry if that wasn't clear in my video. That's sort of what I meant. But then at the same time, I don't think that Gwyn had to bribe him using that. I think that there was some sort of friendship or bond between Gwyn and Seath, because it isn't a logical move for Gwyn to, I mean, if you were in Gwyn's position and you had to go on sort of a mission where you knew you were going to die, you wouldn't give your most important piece of power to, this sort of neutral or wild card figure who is only obsessed with getting these scales. You would want to trust it with somebody who you knew would sort of extend your legacy or continue your legacy. And I don't think that it was really, I don't know, because he has one of the Lord's souls. Seath has one of the Lord's souls, so Gwyn entrusted him with that. You wouldn't trust somebody who you bribed. I don't know, it just doesn't seem. So I feel like that there's some sort of friendship or understanding or camaraderie where he trusted Seath to an extent. So there's that. And then I also think that, also just sort of the relationship with Seath and Havel, how they were both friends of Gwyn, but they both kind of hated each other. Havel was the sworn enemy of Seath and of all dragons. He disagreed with Gwyn's, I guess, friendship or whatever with him, but it seems that he kept Havel at arm's length and never let him harm Seath. So, I mean, there was nothing preventing Havel or Gwyn from killing him after all the everlasting dragons died. There was nothing. He wasn't immortal. They could have just killed him. And then there would have been one less problem, but he accepted him. So that's something that's kind of a interesting thing to think of. And then there's the Jorogumo, Quelaag, and Izalith and all of them. Jorogumo, oh, sorry if I mispronounced that. It's Japanese. It means horse spider or prostitute spider. But the kanji for it, the actual symbols, literally mean binding lady or entwining bride. What they would do is they were originally beautiful women, and they would seduce samurai or people who were wandering, and then they would convince them to marry her because she was so beautiful. And then when the samurai complied, she would eat them. And that's sort of the concept behind sort of the spider women and why they're so beautiful on the surface, or their upper halves are beautiful, but their lower halves are spiders. And a lot of times Jorogumo is depicted as sort of this mother with all these little spider children. And it's sort of just this whole concept of women trapping men within marriage. That's where that legend came from. So there's that, and that's sort of why they're the egg burden. It's because they're essentially the people who fell under the spell of their beauty, yet they're now burdened with her offspring, and they are nothing but servants to her. And that's sort of the whole take on the whole Jorogumo and marriage. And then what else? I think I covered the Manticore. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I did. It's the white lion guy. Maybe. I feel like I did. I recorded this video twice because my microphone messed up, so if I already did this, I'm sorry, you could turn the video off now, but the Manticore is supposed to be a red lion with a scorpion tail, and then it's Persian in origin. We don't really see any Persian inspiration for it, so that could be why they left it out. Anyway, yeah, that's all. Okay, bye.